May 18th, year 5561. 91 days before the Great Retribution. Lord Zacchaeus sat in his wooden chair. His window overlooked his estate, given to him for his time and service in the Sigma military. He was a famous strategist and had fought in nearly every campaign against the Gigachads. Now elderly and facing death, he became aware of his mortality and realized how quickly any experience or knowledge he could pass on to the new generation of Sigma defenders would be forgotten after his death. So, he began a project. He recorded over 1,100 tapes of his own war experiences, encounters, victories, and most importantly, mistakes and regrets. He looked out towards the orange sunrise, cresting over his city of residence, Nautical. He clicked on his tape recorder and began to speak.
This recording is for all of you cadets working towards graduation this month in the Sigma Officer Academy. May you lead our warriors to victory against the GC swine. Surgis Chapline enlisted in the Sigma cause on September 9th, 5532. Back in my prime, when I gave my youth, our war was drastically different. We had more vehicles, aircraft, bombs and men. We fought with maneuver warfare and had to use the best tactics, trickery and plans we could formulate. Very different from today, where both sides grind away in defensive positions, unable to break a bloody stalemate we're all stuck in now. Chaplin was just another soldier. He was consistently average in every combat report I received. He rose through our ranks rather slowly, only becoming a 4th class warrior after 32 months. For reference, the average time it takes for a recruit to reach 4th class is 12 months. Chaplin was lucky to make it through our campaigns. The average life expectancy for our lower enlisted men was about a year. He had survived for 5 years. He had a passion in him, though, to challenge himself. He applied for the hunter-killer teams at every opportunity, but was always rejected for lacking any standout qualities. He did everything he could to prove his worth, but I suppose the opportunity to shine never reached him. We were assigned a mission involving a large, inaccessible mountain range located east of our borders, deep within GC territory. I was in the room with officers Avers, Mo and Squid, names I'm sure you've come across in the academy. Together we planned out this operation. The decision was made to deploy a small contingent behind enemy lines. Our objective would be to establish a forward operating base before a major offensive in preparation for our upcoming offensive. The goal was to disrupt GC supply lines and any response to our main attack. The risk was dangerous, but the reward was worth it if we could pull it off. I decided that my men would carry out this mission, selecting only the best personnel to accompany me. Despite his persistent requests to join, Chaplin was not among the men I chose. I'll admit I was an elitist. I was a hunter-killer myself. I went through my crucible of training. I earned my title. I didn't want some average soldier joining our ranks. I thought of him as below us. To me, Chaplin was just a lower rank, destined to die. But fate has a funny way of showing you how wrong you can be in life. Our long-range communications expert had a mental breakdown when he couldn't eat at a table. We had to beat the shit out of him to calm him down, but unfortunately he died. This led to Chaplin being brought in to fill his position. He had basic experience in communications, but we didn't have time to look for any other HK replacements. None of us liked him. No one helped him carry his gear, checked on his well-being, or even spoke to him. Some HKs even tried to frame him so he'd be removed from the team. At least I didn't stoop that low. But there was no changing the situation. Chaplin was coming with us. We flew over the GC border at midnight undetected and flew straight towards the mountain range. Everyone was silent. Most of our men were catching some sleep, and others were reading manuals. The mild turbulence bothered nobody. Our attack force consisted of 2 transports and a heavy firepower frigate. We had 2 hunter-killer teams for ground ops, designated Alpha 1 and Alpha 2. Chaplin was part of Alpha 1. The plan was simple. Alpha 1 would fast drop into the mountain range and secure a perimeter. Alpha 2 would be on standby as a quick reaction force. Once a perimeter was secured, the transports would land, unload their supplies, and begin construction. However, that's not what happened. As we approached our objective, I observed the environment ahead. The mountains were blanketed in thick snow, and a blizzard created harsh conditions for us. Not the most welcoming sight. We reached our designated LZ. I watched over the operation from Transport 2's command center, viewing everything with its thermal camera from high above. The first transport swooped down from the clouds fast, and Alpha 1 was fast dropped in. Once unloaded, the transport gave full power and shot into the sky, and she disappeared. The team, along with Chaplin, began sweeping the area, spreading out amongst the thick snow. But Alpha 1's team leader, HK Tarus, failed to notice a nearby bunker. Automatic gunfire suddenly erupted, and Alpha 1 was taken completely by surprise. No one was supposed to be here. We had assumed that. We didn't plan for any contact. Why would there be hostile forces in a harsh mountain range in bumfuck nowhere? I watched the entire disaster unfold. Alpha 1, consisting of just 14 hunter-killers and Chaplin, was suddenly fighting a force of 50 to 60 GC infantry. The enemy was fast and encircled Alpha 1 rapidly. Their tracers illuminated the thermal camera. There were too many. Alpha 1 tried to push the bunker but sustained casualties and had to retreat. I noticed one man who didn't fall back though. It was Chaplin. About 6 GC infantry were holed up in the bunker. They had a heavy machine gun that was pinning down the entire group. Bursts of lead cut down 2 of the HKs and Alpha 1. I witnessed the entire event firsthand. Chaplin charged the bunker despite the heavy fire. He sustained 2 gunshots, but it didn't stop him. He sprayed into the bunker point blank and finished it off with a plasma grenade. He then jumped into the gunport head first. By now, Alpha 1 was far from the bunker, and GC infantry had already passed by the bunker. Chaplin had a clear field of fire. He began firing at the enemy infantry closing in around Alpha 1's position from behind. But Chaplin wasn't an HK. He was still just an average soldier. He peeked out for too long in the bunker and took 3 rounds in the chest. I saw him collapse and assumed he had died instantly. The situation was becoming desperate for Alpha 1. The enemy brought up mortars and rocket launchers. It was turning into a slaughter. I ordered the frigate to rain down unrestricted fire support on the mountain range. Those cannon rounds with plasma heat going up to 30,000 Celsius were impacting everywhere, including at Chaplin's bunker, over and over. I ordered Alpha 1's transport to perform a hot evac of the team. The nimble but large aircraft attempted to land but was hit by an RPG right in the engine. The bird crashed right into Alpha 1's perimeter. To complicate matters, our frigate was also damaged by another RPG and had to pull out. We had men stranded, and I needed to find a way to rescue them. I ordered Alpha 2's transport to move in, get Alpha 1 out, and for our people to leave this slaughter. Alpha 1's casualties were mounting. I saw team leader Taras die when a grenade landed under him. His thermal figure split in 2 when the frag detonated under him. More and more men were being gunned down. The enemy was enveloping their position, but enemy fire started diverting. They were shooting at something away from Alpha 1. separated from us with a horde of gigachads between us and him. Blood turned the snow red. What remained of Alpha 1 was loaded onto the transport. There was too much weight, so we had to eject our supplies out of the cargo hold. We had to go, or we'd be fighting the enemy hand-to-hand in our own ship soon. I gave the order to the pilot to lift off. I know Chaplin saw our transport take off. He was all alone, the only Sigma down there. I did what I could to get him back. Our transport orbited above, while our frigate put down fire around him. But it was only a matter of time. I saw his final moments. He was shooting with his pistol, all of his rifle magazines empty at that point. The whole GC force concentrated on him. He held them off for 20 minutes. He had a heart of courage. He peeked around a corner, and that heart took one final bullet. He dropped dead, and we knew it was over. Our ships turned and accelerated back towards the border. His body remains in that mountain range to this day. If I learned anything from this disaster, it's this. Never underestimate the man or woman beside you. Uncommon valor is found amongst people you consider common folk. Chaplin was just another soldier. I didn't expect anything of this average man, but the average soldier who never impressed anyone became the one who gave it all, while the elite warriors had to flee. After his death, we posthumously designated